Taking care of aging parents can be a sensitive topic for anyone, but it's especially hard for Asian American families today because of the influence of a Confucian virtue called filial piety. Hello, my name is Joey Lee, and today I would like to discuss the influence of filial piety on role expectations of caregiving towards aging parents in the context of Asian American families. Personally, this topic is relevant to me because I fall in that category, and I'm also the youngest and only son amongst a family of 5 Korean Americans. Even though I'm in my early 20s, my parents are approaching their 70s later on next year, so considerations into how our relationship might change over time is something I have to consider. As you're listening to my story, please be sure to ask yourself, what determines a good son or daughter in the context of elderly care? To what extent does the welfare and happiness of our parents affect our very own? But first, I'd like to begin by sharing some background knowledge regarding filial piety. Filial piety has been accepted in many Asian cultures because it values the collective needs of others versus the individual. It promotes the idea of respecting your parents, honoring your family name by being mindful of your own actions, and taking care of aging parents out of duty as their son or daughter. Confucius even wrote, "Filial piety today is taken to mean nourishment for parents, but even dogs and horses are provided with nourishment. If it's not done with reverence for parents, what's the difference between men and animals?" Which essentially means it's not enough to just help your parents survive. That's not really living. You should perform your duty with some intentional gratitude and enthusiasm, because if you don't honestly care and support your parents with genuine affection as their child, then that dishonesty can be felt and communicated through both parties. In a modern context, first-generation Asian immigrants report a sense of overall security and relational satisfaction if their kids are achieving their filial expectations, while the opposite holds true for their source of anxiety. When the expectations of their second-generation kids aren't met, they begin to worry about the quality of their support systems, which in effect can affect their own quality of life and deter them from seeking outside help due to the fear of imposing a burden on others. This cultural aspect also explains why for many first-gen Asian immigrants, the idea of retirement is foreign and strange to them, and it's not always invested in nor practiced long-term. Many aging parents believe that if the day ever comes where they're forced to retire, they have this implicit assumption that their kids will always be there to take care of them, just like how they grew up abroad with their respective families in Asia. However, trying to practice these traditional virtues within the context of a modern Western society is a little difficult at best and impossible at worst. Many Asian Americans express that the difficulty in elderly caregiving isn't the physical aspect, but the mental toll it takes when they stretch themselves too thin and take on roles they weren't quite suited for or too many roles to begin with and start ignoring their own personal needs. A recent survey of interviews amongst second-generation Korean American adults reported that they would feel disgraceful or ashamed if they sent their parents into a nursing home, even if it's the better option than trying to take care for them at home personally. In some regards, they could consider it a failure as their son or daughter if they're unable to help for their aging parents in tangible aspects such as monetary support, providing shelter, food, clothing, and transportation, and simply just handed off that responsibility to an outside agency like a nursing home. However, research has also shown that even the traditional aspects of filial piety are evolving as a cultural value, and that there's other ways to show support for parents as they approach retirement and end of life. Investing in little gestures like calling them more frequently to make small talk and checking up on them can carry on a long way and show a greater sign of appreciation and affection, rather than forcing them to live inside your house or vacating them into a nursing home. While many Asian American adults like myself may not share the same philosophy of our parents, there is a level of mutual respect and understanding we have for one another, because we're able to communicate our personal values and expectations. With less ambiguity and more clarity about our own personal values and our parents, we can begin to communicate more honestly without compromising our personal identities. To briefly summarize my point, I leave you off with a quote from Maya Angelou. "People will forget what you said, and people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel."